Hello, it's Alex from Carringtons Estate Agent in Kingston upon Thames, checking in with a daily video. It's December, typically our worst and slowest performing month, and just wanted to give a quick update. We are holding 2 open days tomorrow, of which I think we've got 22 viewings spanning across 2 properties. We've literally just replied to a social media post on TikTok that I posted a few days back where someone said nothing's selling in 2025, there is no market, no one's buying properties, and we've just come up with a reply to that because quite the opposite with our new process. We're averaging 18 viewings per property and 4 to 5 competing bidders. And it's not to gloat, that's just the fact of what we are doing. And I think it's a reminder that every estate agent out there needs to know that their whole job is to create a market for their sellers, not to do the opposite and not create one and actually devalue the property by overvaluing it in the first place, and thus not encouraging anyone to call or have any viewings or offers. It's the worst thing you can do. I digress. The reason I wanted to speak to you today was I've just also finished our weekly newsletter, so check that out. The link will be in the description to sign up for that if you're not already. Some really interesting stuff, and you can go back and look at the other ones. And it was a little bit of a reflection on 2025 as a whole and how we have gone on this journey since February through to the end of the year now, as it's really the only time that I'm ever going to have to do general A/B testing. Against our own data, that is anyway, because we had a backlog of properties that spilled over from 2024 and beginning of 2025 when we were doing old school traditional agency, and just the differences have blown us away, and you'll see them. Again, we are the honest, transparent agent. All we are doing is telling the truth, and it's backed up by the figures, and those figures are undeniable. This isn't just for one property. This isn't a cherry-picked statistic. This is averages across every single property this year that has followed our strategy. Every single house that we brought onto the market, I think we're currently operating at a 94% completion rate. I would like to make the bold claim that's the best in the country. I don't know that for a fact, but it's got to be up there because the average agent is completing on anything between 39% to 55% of all of the stock that they list. But again, I don't want to gloat too much. These are just reflections on what a fantastic year we've had. But we will not settle for that. We are constantly looking to improve our process, and it makes my job easier because where I've got time in the day where I don't have to deal with disgruntled homeowners, disappointing clients because we just follow a set strategy and we deliver on those deliverables every single time, it gives me so much more time in the day to write these newsletters and do social media posts and really listen to buyers and sellers as to what is wrong. And we're constantly thinking of ways to improve the service and the quite simply broken business model that is buying and selling property in England. And I had a really interesting chat about half an hour ago, 45 minutes ago, when one of my clients who's just completed in December is currently in the process of moving into another property, and she's just a lovely lady, lovely family, and she was perfect. She sent us an amazing Excel spreadsheet with lots of guides as to this is the boiler, this is how you turn it on, this is where it's located, this is da-da-da-da. And it was just a welcome guide to her buyers coming into their new property, and it was wonderful. She took pictures of all the keys. This is where they all are. This is what they're all for, and it was just such a lovely thing for her to have done for her new homeowners, to make them feel welcome, at ease, and also have something to refer to in a brand new property that's pretty alien to them. And she even went through to the extent of asking us as her agents, do I leave the heating on, the underfloor heating, for the new homeowners? Would they like that? And we communicated and sorted it out between them, and they did want that. And it was lovely because it means they've moved into a brand new home, they're happy to take over the bills, and it's nice and warm for them in the cold winter months. Conversely, she's currently moving into the property that she has purchased via another agency. Now, I'm not taking credit for this is why our buyers move in at this completion stage was actually better, but rather reflecting on it's just another element that we can really look to improve for both our buyers and sellers to make sure we are offering elite services throughout every step of the journey that we're looking at with a fine-tooth comb. And so I'm not putting any blame on the agent she's bought from or indeed her seller. In fact, it was quite an impartial conversation amongst me and my seller who's now buying this property, in as much as, again, it's just another problem with the legality of buying and selling a property in England. her experience moving into her new home right before Christmas, 2 weeks before, is the complete opposite. All of the heating, all of the electricity, everything's turned off. She's currently in the process of moving over boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff and doesn't have any form of handover guide, hasn't got any information from her previous seller. Now, that's not to say her previous seller is a bad person, it's just there is no guidance or law in place that suggests you should do this, this or this. In fact, my old seller who's buying this new property will probably get that information from her seller if she's a half decent person, just by reaching out either via message or via the estate agent. And I know that because that's how we've operated for 9-10 years, or rather I've operated for the last 9-10 years. Sometimes you get these questions come back after completion, and some of it could have been thought about prior to move-in. But this is where I would like to sort of hand it over to any of you, the general public, that have moved within the last 15 to 20 years, whether it be 2 months ago or 10 years ago. Remembering your experience on completion and thinking, oh, all the stress is now dealt with. How stressful was that move-in for you once you acquired the keys to your new home? Did it feel like you had walked into a 5-star hotel where you'd been sort of walked through and had a handover guide as to this is where this is, this is where this is, this is how this works, and these are the keys that operate everything? Or was it more like getting a B&B rental with absolutely no handover or person there to help you, walking into an alien spaceship where you have no idea, because you've never dealt with a boiler of this type, you don't even know where the location of the electric fuse box is, you have no idea, and you're just having to learn all these things for the first time, and or do them in reverse, where you go back and you contact the estate agent or the owner and get all of this information reactively as opposed to proactively. And it just gave me a brainwave, because I thought, in speaking to my homeowner who's moved into this new property, how much nicer would her experience have been following all that stress to get her new keys to her new home, and to have walked into that home with the heating on, with the electricity still on, with a small hand guide as to this is where things are, these are where the main electrical points are, etc, etc. And again, I'm not pointing the finger or blaming any one party in this. It's opened my eyes up to this is what elite estate agency looks like, and these are the things that we're constantly now trying to improve on. As we have a set process that for all of our sellers discovers the market value, gets them a competing number of bids, and therefore a definition of what market value is, they're happy to accept the offer. And then we've also, as much as we can to this point, got a process that has halved almost our conveyancing time, which again is a benefit to buyers and sellers. Less stress, less waiting. Now that we've done that, I'm actually looking at the completion process and how backwards that is, and how much me, on reflection, and probably hundreds and thousands of estate agents out of there, look at completion as, oh, thank God, my money's coming into my bank account now, rather than how can we make this part of the process even more enjoyable for our new homeowners. And that's where I would welcome feedback. So any stories that you have on experiences you've had upon moving, and what you would have liked to have experienced when you moved into the property, either via your agent or via the old homeowner, just drop me a comment down below. I'd love to take your feedback on board, because ultimately it's you as the homeowners, the sellers and the buyers, that really make all of this doable and give me a job in the first place. So thank you for your time, and I'll speak to you soon.